welcome to another week of Journey with Michael and Ryan. Hello. How are you this week? Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just finished a rebirth. Just been launching content and a beautiful offering for the retreat that we're going to be doing in a few weeks' time.
I'd like to talk about that before we drop into everything, actually.
Why not?
Let's give it a little
nudge.
A little nudge. So we're doing a retreat here in Auckland, 23rd to the 25th of February. Call it Breathe, Elevate, Transform. And we've got a few amazing facilitators that are joining us there. It's in luxury style out there at Kura at Murawai. It's fully catered. We've only got 12 spots there, so super intimate. And we popped up there on Monday and, yesterday actually.
Yeah, beautiful spot.
Oh yeah, so nice. So yeah, if you're interested in that, we've still got about 5 spaces left. So we've got all the details. I'll put a link in the show notes underneath. And we're giving away a spot.
We're giving away a spot. So we'll also leave a link to that giveaway as well. So you can go on and nominate someone that is deserving. It's
a $2,000 ticket, team. It's got a high value. And you're going to walk into this weekend and just feel absolutely reset. If you are having issues and troubles with anxiety, intrusive thoughts, you're just kind of blowing about in the wind, in the breeze of life, and you want to just kind of have a few answers, work out who you are a little bit deeper, then this is for you.
This is for you.
Yeah.
So, check out those links if you are interested. You can either message me and Mike as well to find out a little bit more details, or if you want to talk to a human about it, do that.
And if you've been listening along, we'll be doing a rebirth. So you get to come and experience one in real life after we've spoken about it many times on here.
Many times, that's it. That's it. So if you are intrigued, if your ears peak up even just a little, if you want an opportunity to just step away for a bit, then this is the time to do it. So that's enough of that, Michael.
Enough of that. Well, it's a great segue because today we're talking about stress.
Totally, man.
So, we wouldn't be in doing what we're doing if there was no stress around. So
for sure,
stress keeps us in a job.
Well, and stress keeps people alive as well.
Yeah, it does.
So even in that statement, it's like stress is often deemed as being negative, but it's not always negative, right? It's necessary, required, and needed, because people can live in hypervigilance and hyper-stressed mode, or they can also be hyperdocile. They don't have the ability to access and utilize their stress response as they should. So it's like being on either side is not where you want to sit, and you want to be able to have flexibility within your body, your nervous system, so that you can utilize stress when it's needed.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to put it. And I think, we talk about this in our 28-day state change program all the time. We go through stress management and breath work, all those sorts of things, but it's about choosing to put yourself into the state of stress of your own choice as well. Gym is a stress state. Training's a stress state. Going to a cold therapy is a stress state. So if we can choose about the stress states that we're stepping into, we can start taking a bit more control and becoming a little more responsive and less reactive in our daily life.
Yeah, it just helps build more resilience. It's like challenging yourself to be better. So if you constantly challenge yourself to be better, your nervous system just becomes more responsive to it. It becomes accustomed to being put in challenging situations, so that when you put yourself in new challenging situations, or when stresses occur, your body doesn't malfunction. It actually just supports, like, your body supports your mind to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think on the stress topic there, we're always going to talk about the breath, because that's a big basis of our teachings and education and our own formal training and things like that. So the way that we breathe is definitely going to be helping or hindering us within the stress state of our nervous system. So even if you're listening to this, maybe even now, the soothing calmness of mine and Ryan's voices, or afterwards, just check in with your breathing. You don't have to try and adjust it or change it. Just try and drop in and just see where you're breathing. Are you breathing into the top of your chest? Are you breathing through your mouth? Are you breathing, where are you breathing? Our breath has it's got a big rendition from our upbringing of how we live in the state of stress or non-stress. If we grew up in an environment where it's emotionally turmoil, or it's just chaotic, or you know what I'm talking about there, and that was the constant program and dialogue, well, you're going to be breathing into the sympathetic nervous system quite a bit, the fight or flight response. And if you've taken that over into your adulthood, then what you're breathing is you're breathing into the top of your chest. You're kind of constantly state of just stress that you're going to be living in. That's going to overload with cortisol in your body. It's going to damage your immune system. It's just going to just bring a little bit more dis-ease and unease within the body. And I think it's a really big place to just to check in with yourself. And it's such a patterned thing that we can do is actually just start to change our breath a little bit, start to breathe into that parasympathetic, that rest and digest, and that move into that diaphragmatic breathing, and really just bring the edge off.
Totally. Well, it's an addiction.
Yeah.
Stress is an addiction. Like I know this because I've been addicted to it multiple times in my life. And I don't get as stressed, but I'm still addicted to the rush, the run, the way in which the world is. Because I like to go, I like to do things, and it's easy to become addicted to adrenaline. It's easy to become addicted to cortisol, and when we're constantly living in those states, we actually don't recognize and realize the effects that it's having on us. Yep. When it comes to our ability to function, our presence, our relationships, because it's not something that like you don't just step into hypervigilance and hyper stress instantly. Like it's gradual and it builds up over time, and it's like if you're not conscious and aware of your stress load, then you just become more resilient to living in a hypervigilant state, and it just keeps compounding, and you go from like revving your engine at like 1,000, 2,000 RPMs to just having it sitting at 7,000 constantly. And it's hard to get off. Like we were talking in the state change program just before this, and there's a lady and she's hyper productive. Like she's a go-getter. She's doing so much in life, and she made a comment about work, just it being hard. It's hard to step away. Well, she couldn't because work. And I said, well, just choose something different. And she's like, well, that sounds easier than it is. You know, and that's because we're so used to sprinting, we're so used to running. And an analogy when it comes to stress and when it comes to like reducing your stress load, it's not about like stopping instantly, because it can be way too disruptive for your nervous system, and that feels so uncomfortable for people. But it's like getting off a treadmill. All right, imagine yourself running on a treadmill. You've been running on this treadmill for forever, and it's running at, you're running at a good pace. You're sort of sprinting or just under a sprint. If you try to stop it instantly, you're just going to fall over and fall off. Yeah. But what you actually need to start to do is start to slowly implement practices so that you can slowly start to wind it down. And then you can choose to get off when you want to, when it feels comfortable to.
Yeah, the addiction to it is, I think it's something that's probably not talked about too much. Because it's like, well, how do you be addicted to stress? Well, it's very simple, because it's dumping a lot of beautiful chemicals into your brain that feel very, very good at the time, and they wash out very quickly, and you want to keep refilling those chemical spots within your brain,
because it feels uncomfortable without them.
It does, like if you're constantly, or if you've trained yourself to be comfortable in chaos, that's your normal. That's where you want to be. I've been there.
We've all been there.
I'm still there sometimes, but it's just first the willingness to and the acknowledgement of, okay, I'm living in a chaotic life, right? I'm, and then there's other undertones that come with that, which means you could possibly putting everyone else first before yourself. Like the work thing is a great example. It's like the programming of like, I've got to constantly be doing to be productive and successful. Rest isn't an option because it's weak and it's lazy. So again, it's just looking at all these dialogues that we actually talk to ourselves a bit, and we live in a very generator filled world. Like it's like it's go, and to a point that's where it's created. Like, if you're not on the bus, you're off it. There's no real kind of middle ground anymore. But if you're constantly on the bus, well, sickness will eventually kick you off it, and you'll never be able to get back on it again, because stress and the side effects of stress, i.e. anxiety, depressive states, different sicknesses, illnesses, all of that, they're just little things from your body going, hey, I want you to look at me. I want you to just, do something different, because if you don't, I'll put you down.
Totally. And they're often squeaks before they're explosions.
Yeah.
Sure. Like the body's constantly communicating with you, and we can either choose to listen or we choose not to listen. But if there's disruption in your sleep patterns, if your hormones are starting to become imbalanced, if you're struggling with presence or breathing, or there's minor anxiety about doing certain things, depression, even, or you find that you get sick often, shingles. I mean, that's an obvious one. All of these are just signs that your body's trying to tell you that, like, hey, that's the check engine light. Check engine light, check engine light. Like, something's going on here and something's going to happen, And the beautiful thing, challenging, like, this is like a bit of a catch-22, because men are like dirty old trucks, like we'll just run till we explode. So we don't really see those check engine lights as much, whereas women are like a Formula 1 race car. Tiny little things are off, they're going to notice because of their menstrual cycle that something's off, so it is a little bit easier for women to identify than it is for men, because normally for a man, they're not going to notice until they potentially have a heart attack or a stroke later on in life, that these things have actually been compounding and building up on them. And there's obviously that idea around, the hustle mentality in culture. But when we can start to learn to listen to these bodies and just understand that, like, man, if we live a 9 to 5, we're working for someone else, or even if we work for ourselves, there's going to be stresses in your life, and if you're not taking any actions to mitigate them at all, then you're probably going to be living in a state of stress.
And we're not saying that you're going to eliminate stress from your life. That's just no. It's not going to happen.
Never.
But it's about how do you create a lifestyle that you can have tools and things in your back pocket for you to be able to mitigate the stress, for you to be able to learn what the check engine lights are within your body. If you're, if you're a worker and you have 4 weeks holiday or 3 weeks holiday every year, and every time you go on holiday you get sick, that's a really big sign to go, okay, well, you're running on cortisol, you're running on adrenaline and stress, because when you finally have a chance to chill out,
that's when you
while the cortisol runs away,
yeah.
There's no immune system there, so whatever bugs floating around you're going to catch, and you're going to actually get sick.
Totally. It's a funny little paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's like, even in the real estate world, when I've been in the real estate world for 6 years, and finally someone takes a week off and they're like, I was just sick the whole time. It's like, wow, you've got to really look at that and go, okay, I need to make some changes.
For sure.
Because, you just look at them. Look at yourself in the mirror. You can tell. Like, look at your face. Do you have some sort of inflammation? Like, the body is inflamed when it's constantly in undue stress.
Totally.
And then from there you're looking at comfort eating, because it's faster and easier, and it's perpetuating downward trending cycle. And so just looking at those check engine lights, like you said, I think is a really good place to start, and just start to listen and be like, okay, yeah, I'm having half a panic attack every month. I better go and do something. I better go and sort that out, because that's stress. They lead into autoimmune diseases, responses, all that sort of stuff in the body. The body just, if you don't rest and you don't relax, it will put you down.
100%.
It's innately much more intelligent than we think we are.
and the fact that it's so resilient makes people think it's not that important.
No.
You can put your body through fucking hell before it falls over. And that's a great thing, but it's also not a good thing, because it means that people are just going to keep going until they go.
And this is where we talk about, you can load up with your actual chosen stress. You go and do some physical exercise. It's a good stress, but it is stress nonetheless. So if you are stressed to the tits and the eyeballs, and you start going and slamming yourself as a punishment, you're not doing yourself any favours there either.
Hey, look, Mike, I'm starting to put on some weight because my metabolism's up the shit, because my adrenals aren't working properly. Do you know what's going to work? Some high-intensity interval training.
Go join a CrossFit gym so they can yell at you for a while.
Yeah, for sure. Not only do I want to feel like shit, feel like shit in my body, but I want people to make me feel like shit, because I'm not doing enough.
Exactly. It's Yeah, and then what you're going to do is you're going to start cutting some calories as well. So you're not actually going to be feeding yourself properly either.
Perfect.
And I think that's an amazing response to all of it there.
Bit of pre-workout.
Oh yeah, get that real stimulant hitting you to carry you on through. And you're not going to be sleeping properly.
Totally.
So, let's just stay awake at night. So you might as well do more work at night, or you might as well just scroll on your phone.
Maybe take some melatonin.
melatonin.
Double shot of espresso as soon as I get up.
That's it. Or even go a sleeping pill. Go to the doctor. They'll start medicating you up.
That's it.
You know? So, we joke about it, but do you know what? We have these conversations over and over and over and over again with so many people, and this becomes your life. And it sneaks up on you. Your own reality becomes your own reality very fast and very simple. I mean, we spoke about, I mentioned this to you when we went to Ignition, how fast my outside reality got, forgotten about very quickly because I was inside this reality within about 2.5 days. Mm-hmm. Within about 2.5 days, I literally stopped checking my phone. I was like, all right, perfect. Here I am. I'm here. And that can happen very quickly for us as well. After about, 6 months, you might have just been, I'll just push a little bit here, push a little bit here. I'll just forgive a little bit here. And then all of a sudden it's just, here I am 10 years later and 50 kilos higher and having panic attacks and having heart attacks and, oh God. And then for some people, it's such an ingrained habit that they don't even see that they can't even, or they're unwilling to actually make a change after that either.
Yeah. Or people think that they're too old to make a change.
Too
old to make a change. They've gone too far. But as you say, like, the body is so resilient and it's so adaptive that you're never too old to make a change. You've never too far gone to heal yourself, because your body has an innate intelligence and it's constantly trying to fix itself. All you have to do is put it in the right environment to be able to do so. It's like replanting a plant that's already starting to die. Like, if you just left it, it would die. But if you repot it, you change the soil, you give it more nutrients, you start to feed it water, you give it the right amount of sunlight that it likes, it's going to start to flourish just like you.
It's beautiful, brother. I love that. Yeah. And then, let's think about the society we're in now as well. The fear aspect is utilized on keeping us stressed.
Totally.
Because fear creates stress. That whole COVID, all of that. That was a great example of premeditated fear propaganda to create stress within the realm of all of us humans. And there are some people who will never get over that, because they are out. You still see them with masks, you still see them reacting to people, and you see it all over the social media of people just having freakouts and planes and things like that. Like that, to me, that's a sign of a sick society. And it's hard to watch, because it's like we are all innately able to make a change. We are all able, doesn't matter what age. You could be 75 in a nursing home and you've let your mind decline with everyone else around you, and so you're getting older very quickly. But if you just read something or you heard something and you're like, do you know what, I want to go pick up a weight or start going for a walk, you can start.
It's a choice.
It's your choice.
It's a choice. And then it's about working through the resistance of that choice, because it's guaranteed to be there.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what. Every client that I've worked through, the first few weeks is just overcoming psychological barriers and resistance to change.
Change is always going to be the hard bit, regardless of the change.
And then some people find it easy when things are going easy, and then once life throws you a spanner, that's when the real work begins.
Yep.
It's not about, you say this all the time, it's not about the actions you take when life is going well, it's about the actions you take when life's turned to shit. Totally. That really define you as a human being.
Yep. And for me, how I've implanted that into my own psyche is everything I do for when I fall off to get me back on.
100%, because they're always there.
Because when it's on, I'm like, it's good.
But
when I'm off, it's like, how lucky I need these things to get me back on. And sometimes it might be a month, a day, it might be 6 months, who knows? Whatever it is at the time, but I've got these things to get me back on.
Totally.
Yeah.
But we all do it, man. Like, even myself, like, fuck, I put too much load on myself, and I become stressed, And shit. I take it out on other people, and I'm an asshole. Mm-hmm. So I use those moments when I notice that I'm being a dick, that I'm like, okay, I've put too much on myself here, and just fallen back into that pattern, because it's so easy, it's so simple. There's so much to do in this life, there's so much to achieve, there's so much beauty in all of it, and it's easy to get caught up in it.
And you just, honestly, we just want it all,
we want it all.
That's where it's coming from. We just want it all.
We're jealous, or we're greedy. Greedy. We're just greedy little bastards. So what can we do, Michael? What can people start to do to really, I guess, step out of the state of stress? We've condemned them enough.
We were just condemning ourselves, really, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we were doing. We're condemning older versions of ourselves and parts of ourselves.
Yeah, Mike just did this podcast to remind me. He's like, Ryan, you're getting a little stressed. Let's do this podcast on stress.
And then he's getting stressed out. How are we going to run this? I'm like, man, like we do every week. We pull the thread and we fucking go down the rabbit hole. It's okay. yeah, I think we can come at this just from a few different angles, man, because, you know, obviously we could talk about the breath and the tools and the different things like that, but I think for a lot of people that are just on that daily merry-go-round, you know, I think it's just the acknowledgement that
you're stressed.
Are stressed.
That you're not handling it.
Yeah.
It's okay to not handle life.
Yeah, you might be yelling at your kids a little bit more, or maybe there's a thing in the back of your mind that you're like, you know, you're parenting exactly like your parents, but that's not actually the way you wanted to parent. And so it's taking a little step into that thought that's in the back of your mind somewhere that you know is there, and having the courage to just explore that realm. You know, you might be going, I'm disconnected from my partner after being married for 5 or 10 years, and I want to connect in a bit more, but I'm so in the stress and I'm in the chaos and I don't know how. Well, the part is actually just acknowledging and just going, hey, there's a part of me that wants to do different. And I think that's a really good start.
And then you got to work through the change aspect, and change is a funny one, because you're not just working through the resistance of yourself changing, but you're also working through the resistance of the people around you who know who you are and the way in which you act, and are quite comfortable with your suffering, and would rather have you suffering and staying the same than thriving and changing, because it makes them uncomfortable. And
it's easy to put someone in a box when you can, hold them as an identity.
For sure.
You know, how many times have you grown up and, you know, one of your mate's dad is an angry dad or something like that, and you know, and that just becomes the notion,
for sure.
Or or someone's got an angry grandparent, and they're like, oh, that's just how he is. You know, it's like, I refuse to fucking accept that anymore. Of just that's how someone is. You know, it's like, well, that's how you choose to be. That's great, no worries. But it's not just how it is.
Nothing is set in stone ever.
No. So I think I think that's just probably the first kind of area is, you know, if you're stressed, you know, you don't have to have us telling you about it.
Yeah. And it's like, well, what do you need to do? What tools, Michael? Well, it's the tools that are going to help you slow down.
Totally. Exactly right.
And there's so many. There's different apps that you can jump on for different forms of meditation.
There's everything.
There's for everything. There's wearables that you can wear that emit electromagnetic pulses that helps your nervous system wind down. There's thousands and thousands of breathing techniques that you can do. There's yoga, meditation, qigong, tai chi.
Even here in New Zealand now, you can go to a cannabis clinic and you can get prescribed THC drops, different things that really help lower your immune system, your nervous system. Yeah.
But if you're super anxious and super stressed, smoke a joint.
But you got to go to a doctor. Don't go and buy it off the corner. Go and get a prescription, sign up for it, do it fucking legally, because you can do that in this country now.
Get the strongest.
You know, and they have different strains, and they'll go, this will help you for your stress management. This will help you for, you know, and you don't necessarily have to get high. There's just actually the compound that's in it. You know, it could be just the oil or an edible or something like that. You know, there's so many different paths that you can now. You know, and it's just changing that paradigm of different things, you know.
Yeah, and just changing the paradigm. I think that's probably it. Perception is the key. Perception is the key, because the tools are out there, and it's not people's lack of knowledge that is holding them back. It's their lack of accountability and action, and lack of understanding of the actual importance of it. Like, the tools are there. Everyone knows the tools. Like, it's just taking action on it. If you're listening to this podcast, you know the tools. Totally. You know, you're in this world, you're of this world. But it's whether or not you're choosing to take action and choosing to make yourself a priority enough to actually spend time in slowing down. And it's one of those crazy things. It's a paradox, because the more you invest in slowing down, the faster life actually becomes. Because when you're constantly in a stress state, you're like, you may achieve things, but you're not actually functioning at your highest potential. Like, cognitively, there's a 30% decrease when you're running on cortisol and your cognitive ability and cognitive load. So it's like, you think you're taking action, but realistically you're not. And when you are actually operating in a stressed state, you can't make new decisions and new choices. You can only make decisions based off past experiences, because you shut down a part of your brain that's connected to new ideas, because you don't need to create a new idea when you're running from a saber-toothed tiger. You need to just get away from it, and you're going to act in the way that you have previously. So you think that running constantly is going to support your growth and help you get to where you want to get faster, but essentially it's just going to slow you down in the long term. Because you're just going to keep acting in the same way that you have. You're never really going to come up with new ideas, and everything will just keep flowing as it is.
The great paradox there. And this is where, you know, you can have generational poverty, scarcity mindsets. You know, like, you know, you've got families that run for generations on the benefit systems and things like that, because there's no ability for them to change and chink out and have a blockade in that nervous system reaction within themselves, because their environment keeps them there. The stories and the victimhood keep them there. You know, and to a point, it's not actually their fault. It's what they've chosen to get in there. You know, and this is why we're so passionate about trying to get this out to as many places as possible, because, you know, because we can sit here and we can say, you got to do this, but I understand for most people, for a lot of people, that actually is hard. You know, it is impossible. You know, because of the environment that they're in, because of the upbringing and all of those different factors. You know, of living in that state of stress, and so if you're in constant survival mode, you're unable to actually creatively think to get your way out of it. And so it's like, where do you start? Well, you just start at the very basics. You know, if you've got 5 minutes a day just to sit on the couch by yourself with no phone, it's a great place to start.
Totally.
And just start there.
Totally.
You know, or even bring it back even more. If you can just go to bed 5 minutes earlier each night for a week and just get a little more sleep, you know, when you can, it's a great place to start. You know, it's not about taking huge actionable steps. You know, go and do 10 breaths before you like wake your kids up in the morning, you know, just to have a different state, or before you walk in the house. So we're not here just trying to go, hey, look, here's all these things, and coming from our privileged position. It's like, I see the state of the world, but it's like, how do we help someone help themselves? That's the question, man. And that's the thing I'm always pondering, because it's like, I understand the state you're stuck in. And when there's no ability for you to be able to think differently, how do you think differently? It's hard.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, human psychology is confusing, because even when people have support, they don't utilize the support.
That's exactly right. You know,
we see it all the time.
Totally.
You see it all the time, and it's like that's I guess where you have to see your decisions as an investment and your choices as an investment. You're either investing in decisions that are going to keep you stuck in the same suffering, or you're investing in decisions that are going to do the opposite. And you've got to look at like compounding interest as well, not just seeing it as like a one-off benefit. If I do X, I'm going to get Y. No, it's like if you do X, Y may happen, which can lead to Z, and it's going to take you back to A, and really see the compounding of it, because it's not just about an 8-week challenge, a program, a 28-day state change program, things like that. It's like, how am I going to shift the way in which I view the world, so much so that this just innately becomes who I am? And how do you overcome that barrier? How do you trick your own bias enough to be able to make that adjustment for you and for other people?
Well, I mean, we spoke about it before. The body does it for you. It'll give you a big sickness, you know. And if you can either look at it two ways. You can look at it as the biggest gift of your life, or you can look at it as the most destructive thing of your life.
Yeah, don't let cancer be the thing that makes you healthy.
No, both are right. However you want to see it. But you know, if that's what you're waiting for,
yeah, if that's what you need to fucking, like, as a realization that like you deserve to spend time on yourself, then that's challenging.
Super challenging, man. You know, and this is why I love having our conversations, because like, it just pushes the edge of my own thought process about it, because it's like, okay, well, how can that actually be changed? You know, instead of just being like, oh, that's just the acceptance of the world we live in.
Do these things.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know, because I think every online coach is giving you some stress tools.
Totally.
You know,
they're all out there.
They're all out there.
There's nothing There's nothing special about them.
No.
The specialness comes from continuity of practice.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, what messaging can we put together? It doesn't matter how you get through the door. It's just how, because once you're through the door, then the tools become the same thing.
Yeah,
it's just like, how do we get the messaging right for well, not even right. How do we get different types of messaging out there for certain people to absorb it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so stress. It's a beautiful thing. It's a challenging thing. It's something that is needed and necessary in life, but when it becomes too much, it just becomes too much, you know? And then it's about taking that action, seeing, understanding, believing that you are worthy of living life a different way, that it's okay to slow down, that although you're accustomed to running on stress, that there's going to be a time where you do blow a gasket, and then, to be honest, you're going to need to spend even more time on yourself to make yourself better.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
easier to maintain health than it is to heal a disease.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. And I have no figures. I'm totally just spitballing and talking out here, but I would say that one of the most driving causes of external drug use would be stress, you know?
Of any drug use, positive, like prescription and non-prescription.
Correct. You know,
90% of all doctors' visits are, I have stats.
Yes.
I have stats.
Good man. That's why I said I don't. There you go.
90% of all doctors' visits are stress-related.
Yes, there you go.
There you go.
So clearly what the fuck the doctors are doing
ain't working.
is not fucking helping. So why do we continue this and continue to give our trust to these people who are not fucking helping us?
They're probably going to check your breathing, but not correct your breathing, that's for sure.
Yeah. You know, like if I cut a finger off, I'll go to the doctor. They can sew it back on. You know, I'm not here like disproving and laying down that Western medicine is a crock. No. It is great, and it has its times, and if I have a flesh-eating bacteria, I'm going to be great to receive some antibiotics. Outside of that, no, thank you. I'll take to myself. Here's a great story, actually. Just before I had to sign on for the show, again, I'll talk about it once it launches later on this year. I had to go get doctor's visits. I had to go get checkups. I had to go do STI checks, all the things, right? And the film company rings me up, and they're like, it's really last minute, and so this is Thursday before they're flying us out overseas on the Monday. They ring up 4 o'clock on a Thursday, 3 o'clock on a Thursday. Hey, you're going to have to go to your GP and go and get these checks and get a doctor's note and go get an STI check, and I was like, oh look, I don't have a GP, and she's like, what do you mean you don't have a GP? So I don't have a GP. I haven't been to a GP in years. She goes, well, that's a bit weird. I said, oh, okay, but I don't have one, you know. And it was in that moment that I hung up the phone and made a chuckle to myself, because it was so uncommon for someone to be like, oh, I don't have a doctor that I can go to because I just don't go, you know. And I'm not being the man thing here. I'm like, if I'm sick, I won't go. It's like, no.
He's
like,
got a wizard sitting next to him. He doesn't need a doctor.
Yeah, got a wizard right there.
They'll stitch you up
for sure.
You cut your finger off, Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a lighter.
So, you know, we are totally and invaluably backing any man to go to a damn doctor if you're starting to feel ill or sick already. That's a great place to start.
For sure.
We're 100% backing that. I'm just saying that I've taken my own healing into my hands large enough that I don't have a doctor and I don't have one. And so that was like quite a funny moment where I was like, oh yeah, it's quite uncommon. So back to what we were saying before is that if you're 90% of the visits to the doctors are stress related,
yeah.
Well, maybe we need to sort that out.
Maybe you should. Yeah, maybe there's a potential if you are going to see the doctor, you also go maybe see a personal trainer at the same time.
Go see a nutritionist. Call it naturopath. You know, because naturopathy was the medicine before became.
We were doctors before doctors.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know. There's a few other peeps you can call along with your
GP. For sure.
You know, get a team to help you.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, fam.
Stress.
It's a big killer. It's a silent killer, actually.
That was a dark episode, really, wasn't it? I liked it though.
Yeah. People, look after yourself. That's all we're trying to say.
You know, look, we're not all love and light here. You know,
we're not love and light at all.
No, we're not.
Go to the damn doctor. Look after yourself, people.
Just look after yourself, people.
That's pretty much all we're saying.
That's it.
You know, get support, get help. You're deserving and you're worthy of it.
We want the best for you. We truly do. That's what we're saying. We want the best for everyone. Like, God, how do we get through to you? How do we get through to you people? It's like, what's that movie when he's like, have you seen that South Park episode? You know, and Cartman dresses up as the inner city teacher. And he's like, how do I get to these kids? That's exactly it. So that's it. Well, on that note, we love you and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week, everybody.